Welcome to Boredom Sated. I am Jonathan.
And I'm John.
Today we are going to do our list of our top 5 favorite superhero movies post 2005. Basically, what we're talking about here is MCU. We'll pretty much hit your favorites. This list was so difficult. There's so many good MCU movies, and I didn't want to go all MCU, so I didn't. Sadly, our lists are very similar, which is going to make it a little bit of a boring list, but it just goes to show you how good the movie making has been for the last 15 years.
Yeah, excellent movie making. You had to pick, you wanted not to do too much MCU, but they're the guys that made the big superhero genre go straight to the roof. And everybody else is chasing them on the MCU. Even Sony, they had to submit and put Spider-Man back into the MCU just to get the good stories and the proper control of everything from the studios.
And this was a very difficult set of lists for us to do, but we did come up with it. And this is probably going to be one of our shorter ones, just because of the fact that we're going to have a lot of similar things to say. The only ones where we're going to be a little different, you'll hear pretty much straight off the bat. So, Starting at number 5, I will start with my number 5, which changed literally about at least 10 times during the last week since we've decided to make this list. I ended up making my decision with the Guardians of the Galaxy. The original Guardians of the Galaxy, so much fun. It's how a team movie can be done correctly without being too super serious like the Avengers was. It's got comedy, it's got action, it's got camaraderie. It's just fantastic. It was really the first one of the MCU movies that put in a significant amount of comedy into its movie.
They also put a lot of risk because nobody knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were.
Exactly. But if you think about it, and you'll know when you say your first movie, that was also a big risk too, because unless you were a comic book person, you really didn't know that much about that character.
Yeah, and they MCU in the beginning and kind of in the beginning, stage 1, they really did some risky moves that you would think, all right, you're going to spend how much money, and you don't know how much you're really going to make. But they hit it out of the ballpark, and they got really good stuff. So my number 5 is Iron Man from 2008. That was the kickoff of the MCU, and that really set everything and paced it correctly. Outside of the Incredible Hulk, which did not do as well, Iron Man was the big one.
Iron Man was so good, and that was another one of the things that was a possibility on my top 5 list. It was originally there at number 5, and then things change. Robert Downey Jr. did a fantastic job in the MCU overall. Iron Man has been my favorite Marvel hero since I started reading comic books in the very, very early 90s.
Wow. All right, so Iron Man. Mine was the Incredible Hulk, so it really pissed me off that they didn't do well with that movie for the second time. They dropped the ball.
I still have the trade paperback of the Armor Wars from the late 80s when it was first originally released for that trade paperback style. Old trade paperbacks from the early 90s. I love reading that story.
And of course, for me in DC, Green Lantern's my favorite, and of course they dropped the ball big.
Oh yeah. That there's no way that if we were going to do a top 5 worst superhero movies list, that made theatrical releases, which by the way we are thinking about doing. Green Lantern, there's a chance that would make that list.
Yeah.
Moving on though to our number 4s. My number 4 for this list is going to be Deadpool. Deadpool, is a Marvel movie, but not an MCU movie. Ryan Reynolds was fantastic. The concept of Ryan Reynolds making a Deadpool movie came out with the Wolverine Origins, which is notably very bad, especially the ending. And they made fun of the ending in Deadpool, which was so good. Oh, especially at the end of Deadpool 2, they made fun of it even more, which was so fun. Oh, God.
And of course, Ryan Reynolds took a risk going back into the superhero after Green Lantern, of course.
And
So,
after being Deadpool in Wolverine Origins, where he was fantastic in the elevator scene.
Yeah, so he's a good actor. Just your writing has to be good to back it up.
And the way it made fun of everything, it was a fantastic rated R film. Like, I love Deadpool, and it was fantastic.
I believe
so
at the
good.
time it became the highest grossing rated R film of all time until The Joker beat it.
Yes.
So the first top 2 rated R films of all time are comic book superhero.
Which makes perfect sense to me. So good. Anyway, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is Thor Ragnarok. Now, a proper Hulk movie, sadly. And I read the Incredible Hulk comic books. So the Sakaar and on that planet, and you got the Gladiator Hulk. It's like finally a real Hulk movie. Too bad it's Thor and not Incredible Hulk too. But what are you gonna do? I'll take it. I like Thor too, so it's all good. And that was in 2017.
My number 3 is Thor Ragnarok. Thor Ragnarok, I love this movie so much. It was my favorite MCU movie that had come out at the time. It was so funny. I love the opening scene. The opening scene is so good. I absolutely love the comedy aspect. The directing and Taika Waititi putting himself in the movie was so funny. It was such a good movie. And the parts with Hulk, and I know him. The lines are good. It's perfect action with perfect, like, parts of the movie itself had some problems. Parts of the plot itself had a couple of issues, but the movie was amazing, fantastic. The cameos were wonderful. Like, if for a single character based story, while bringing in other of their friends and other characters to come along with it, it is nearly perfect in my opinion. I love it so much, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so looking forward to the eventual Thor: Love and Thunder.
True. I'm looking eventually to possibly another Incredible Hulk movie, which they may be able to do right.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but at least they have She-Hulk on Disney Plus, so
Eventually.
Well, with all the delays, who knows if it's coming out till 2022. My number 3 is Deadpool from 2016. Same thing we just talked about. Ryan Reynolds. Not much more to say.
It's so good. And Deadpool 2, by the way, also amazing film. But Deadpool is better.
And looking forward to Deadpool 3. They looks like it's a full go ahead. They're writing it as we speak.
All right, so now our number 2s. Number 2 and number 1 are very difficult for this, and again, we have slightly different opinions on this. My number 2 is Avengers Endgame. Now, as I said, Thor Ragnarok was my favorite MCU movie at the time. However, Endgame and Infinity War together, but Endgame, just the number of moments in that were just like, oh my god, the culmination of the storyline. 10 years of movies, 11 years of movies, really just culminating into that final bit. And there's a few things I wish I had seen in it, but overall it was heart-wrenching, it was wonderful, it was a fantastic ending, and like the fact that there really hasn't been that much happening in the MCU since is it was just so good.
Well, it's because of Black Widow has been postponed, and
yeah, I mean it's because of the coronavirus, and the coronavirus is obviously postponing many things and doing a lot of things to a lot of people's work, and I hope everyone is staying healthy and safe. But yeah.
But I consider Infinity War and Endgame really one movie, and that's because they shot it all at one time and they did some extra reshoots, but it's all one story. It's really all one film. They just had to split into two because it was too long. 5+ hours.
Yeah, no one would have sat through a 5+ hour movie.
Maybe they would have. You never know. They sat through 3 hours, pretty much with Endgame.
I've done that.
That was long. That was a long.
Anyway, your number 2, sir.
My number 2. We go to DC Comics, and of course it's The Dark Knight from 2008, taking on Heath Ledger as the Joker. It's one of the best Batman films they've ever made. It is the best Batman film they've ever made. I mean, different eras have really good Batmans, but this was the Batman. And who knows what they're going to do in the future, if it's going to come out good or not. But this trilogy from Nolan was definitely, everybody loved. Everybody was looking forward to every movie from Nolan on this, and Christian Bale.
Absolutely. My number 1, in case anybody had not guessed, is The Dark Knight. And that's because of the conversation we had. I don't consider Infinity War and Endgame together as one movie. I do think that overall it's probably better than The Dark Knight, but it's still so debatable just because of everything. Heath Ledger was fantastic. I obviously R.I.P. Everything worked out. So the movie was just so good. They did so much good things with it. They did. I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'm honestly surprised or even thinking about watching it, something like this. But it is a fantastic movie. It has a very good ending. A lot of times when they put two supervillains in a movie, they're overreaching. They really didn't overreach the way they did it because it was all part of the one subplot. And the ending was great, even though it obviously led to the third movie. Is wonderful, but it has a lot of its own disappointments. Like Batman Begins is a fantastic movie. Dark Knight is a fantastic movie. The Dark Knight Returns is a good movie, but yeah, that's about all I can say.
I think it's Dark Knight Rising.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rising.
Returns, of course, is the big, huge comic book.
Event
and an actual movie, animated movie. They just made that.
Oh yeah. There's just so many.
Lots of good stuff.
Lots of animated wise. DC is doing some amazing work, but we one of the rules that we put for all of this is that it must be theatrical releases.
Yeah. Well,
so in case you hadn't guessed for what John's number 1 is,
Avengers: Infinity War / Endgame, because it's really one movie, and you have to put it at number 1. There's so many good ones, but for now, it is the king until it gets booted out of there by somebody, and somebody will boot it because they're just trying to up their game every single time they come out with these films, especially the big ones.
Now, is there anything you want to talk about as an honorable mention, or do we think that we're good here? Because the thing is, we talked about a lot of the same movies.
Yes. Well, honorable mention, you got so many. You can't even pick from them. It's like all these great movies. Just exclude the bad ones. The bad ones are usually going to be stuff that Snyder did and just screwed up the story so badly. So
don't be that specific. But okay, I'm just going to mention some movies that were in my top 5 for a period of time, but did not make it eventually.
I'll mention one I like from him, but is The Watchmen. I thought, other than the ending being changed, it was actually a good film.
The ending was better than the original ending. The original ending was terrible. If you want to have a conversation about that, we can do a separate video. But either way, other movies that at least would be made it into my top 5 and then got removed at some point. X-Men: Days of Future Past, Captain America: Winter Soldier, Iron Man 3, because I liked it differently. Just wish that they had done something a little different with Mandarin. But the ending was great. Lots of things about it were great. Let's see. Doctor Strange. I loved the Doctor Strange movie. Some people hated it. I liked the Doctor Strange movie. And Wonder Woman was also up there.
Yeah, obviously, there's a lot of good movies, but Doctor Strange actually would be in my bottom of the MCU. Just did not like it. Oh, well. You wish you liked it, but just didn't come through. It was just too strange.
Anyway, if you've got your own top 5 lists, please let us know. If you disagree with anything we said, if you agree with anything we said, comment, subscribe, all that. Anything else you got to say?
Nope. Just like and subscribe. That's it.
All right. From John and Jonathan here at Boredom Sated, everybody have a good day. Talk to you next time.